Welcome back to the Apartment Geek, episode 51. I'm buying a special bottle of champagne next week because I'm going to crack that bottle of champagne for episode 52, marking a year of Apartment Geek videos. So excited about everything. And we did a different kind of theme this week and went out within the last, I think, 8 or 9 days to social media and some of the different avenues that we use. And we asked the public, and this is kind of cool because it's local and across from different parts of the country because there's people that tune in from all over. General questions pertaining to the industry of investing in apartment buildings. What I heard, I think, is themed towards San Diego. So we basically went through all of these and kind of cherry picked ones that I thought were appropriate to talk about and dive into. Now, the one thing I have done, and you know, I'm frank and transparent with everything, is I haven't thought about answers to any of these. I kind of hear something, I go, okay, that's relevant, let's put it on there. So 20, I think there's 20 or maybe 21 questions in here that we're gonna go through. Quickly, I'm going to give you my candid 2 cents on them as the official Apartment Geek. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get going. Okay, number one, why do I like 5 units and above versus 1 to 4 unit properties? It's a good question. 5 units and above is going to be priced on a cap rate, which you can manipulate by raising rents, adding value to the real estate. When the NOI goes up and the cap rate's connected to that, the value of the real estate goes up. So 5 units and above, easier to add value, easier to scale those properties. When you're buying a 5, 8, 10, 100 unit, most of the qualification is based on the actual property versus the person. So as you kind of grow, and a lot of creative people that hide money or they make money as independent contractor or whatever, it's easier to purchase 5 and above and kind of continue growing that. 1 to 4 works more if you're a doctor on a W-2 making $1 million a year, or you've got documented income. So number one. Number two, how much money do I need to get into apartment investing? Good question. I get this a lot. I would say $250,000 to $300K will get you, say a 30 to 35% down payment into a 5 unit, which is going to be $1 million deal. So 300,000, maybe a hair above that. But you could also probably find something that's a 5-plex that's in a lower income part of town that's maybe 900,000 or a little bit more affordable to kind of help that stretch. But 250, 300K or a little bit more, I would say. Professionally managed, should I professionally manage my properties or self-manage? Is a really good question. I always advise clients to kind of get their hands dirty in the beginning. So self-manage, or if you hire somebody that you believe in for management, stay involved and kind of be a part of that management for the first 6 months or maybe the first 12 months. If you just go straight to professional management, you can get taken advantage of because you really don't know the inner workings of the property and the quirks about it, and really kind of how you can use your own intelligence and sophistication to create a nice foundation. So we do a lot of self-management stuff, and I know a lot of people are busy with other careers and professions, but professional management's great. Just be involved in the beginning, I would say, for sure. So you really know what you're dealing with. How important is my credit? Okay, well that's kind of a rhetorical. I mean, it's a 10 out of 10, and there's been a lot of talk about deferring payments on loans because of the COVID-19, the pandemic, and the issue there is a lot of times the lender that you have a forbearance with, or you do a deal with, maybe you take 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 months pause on the mortgage payments. Usually that lender will report to the credit bureaus, the 3 bureaus, a different code. And the one I heard about was almost like a natural disaster code, and the reason that a payment wasn't coming in. It's not a negative, but if you have to explain anything on your credit report in the future, it's not good. So 0 blemishes, 0 items that you have to explain, even though it may not be a negative thing that you've done. I would really keep that credit 100%. And if you have an issue, write letters, be super persistent. There's some different people I know out there that help people repair credit that I've heard of. We know one of the guys is a buddy. What should I expect on my money year 1 when buying a San Diego apartment building? That's a good question. The better the area, the lower the return. So if you go to the beach and you're in PB or Ocean Beach or comparable market, you're probably breaking even or making 1%, and that's because those investments are really more of an appreciation play long term. So very low, break even 1%, 2%. In more of a middle market that I always kind of rave about, buy in the middle class or the lower middle class blue collar areas of town. Those are going to be 3 to 4 to 5%. If you're buying a 5.5% cap rate and you're getting financing at 3.5, 3 3/4, you're probably going to be making 4 or 5%. If you're buying a 5% cap rate and you're getting a loan at 3.5, I would say 3-4% initially, and then hopefully there's a runway of maybe 12 to 18 months to get that return up to a 5, 6, 7% return, or ideally greater. 6, 7, 8 would be nice too, after you add some value and raise some rents when it's deemed appropriate to do that. Obviously things are unique right now. Where are commercial interest rates right now? A lot of people can go to a lender or a loan broker and ask, but 3.25 would be the low end. 3.5 is what we're underwriting all of our deals at right now. Have a escrow or a property going into escrow today in Normal Heights, North Park, and we're getting quotes at 3.45 for 5-year fixed money. So super low. I would say this is as low as it's ever been. I sold a 58 unit 4 or 5 years ago, and the buyer got 3.25 at the time, and that was due to a relationship, and I thought that was the lowest I'd ever seen. So 3.25, that's pretty much as low as it ever gets. Why do you like lower income apartments versus Airbnb vacation rental property? I've made mention to this and talked about this in the past. The fundamentals of essential housing, low income housing, there's always going to be a need for it. And the thing with the vacation rentals, even though people make a ton of money, I've got friends that make so much money from these, there's an emotional component to it that I don't like. I don't like to worry about vacationers in town staying at a place, a condo or house or whatever, and how their stay's going. I feel like it's a hospitable thing, and I'm running a hotel. And the reason that I like apartment building investing is it's passive, and you don't get emotional, you don't get involved with it. So I like that from a psychology standpoint of why you buy conventional lower income apartments. And another thing is the scalability. It's hard to go turn a vacation unit and refinance it and then go buy 2 or 3 more. I think it's easier when you go buy a 5, 6 plex, a 10 unit, a 20 unit. You add value to it, your cap rate dictates, or your NOI goes up, and the value of the real estate goes up, and you do a 1031 exchange and you buy a bigger one. For me, it's all about the number of doors. And the number of doors, if you get a machine going with good management, is going to be more passive and less emotional stuff that you have to think about or worry about. My 2 cents. Will rents go down in San Diego? Probably not. There's no more land, very little. It's super hard and expensive to build still, even though the ADUs and some of the stuff is becoming better. but I think rents are going to be kind of stable here through COVID, and then continue to kind of do what they've done for 100 years, which is kind of go up steadily every year. Should I wait to buy later this year or next year versus now? I did a video at one point about you always want to be in the market, you always want to be ready. So if there's something that passes your thing now and you vent it, and maybe you leave a little bit of insurance for if tenants don't pay in the next 3, 4, 5 months, or you have to negotiate with people. Maybe there's a cushion in there to deal with some of the COVID problems. But if something passes your radar now and it fits most of those boxes or it checks, buy it now. I don't like waiting for a time to buy in San Diego ever. And that can be a home or that could be a rental property. It's almost like the stock market. If it looks like good value, billionaire investors will tell you to buy in every market. Just continue scooping things up. Nobody rings a bell at the top and the bottom. Hindsight's 2020. Yes, I wish I would have saved all my money for 2009 and 10, but you just don't know. And I think if you save money, and the people that I've seen do that, they end up waiting, and they just don't get in the game. So I would say buy now if it pencils. There's probably going to be some little bit better deals in a year or two, so be cautious now. But I think you gotta still act now if something pencils. Why do you focus in low to middle income neighborhoods? Kind of like what we talked about. If you get into nicer areas, the tenants become a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more entitled. I'll go out on a limb and say that. And if you go into the basic, like meat and potatoes areas where people are just maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit lower maintenance, then it's just a basic deal. You're renting a unit. If there's a problem, you fix it. But I feel like the fundamentals and the tenant class, the tenant base that you deal with in the low to middle, albeit they're going to be lower income, etc. But you're buying cheaper property, so the fundamentals I think make more sense there, and the people are easier to deal with and less problematic. And I've heard a lot of clients arguing or complaining to me recently in good parts of town who are dealing with fairly savvy tenants who are running them through the ringer on all kinds of stuff related to COVID or repairs, and they're holding the landlords hostage and not paying rent. And I typically don't get a lot of that when you kind of stay in some of the I'm going to call it blue collar areas. So for whatever that's worth. Do the current state ballot measures scare you? There's some concerning stuff out there. California is becoming a pain in the ass. Becoming, frankly, less sexy to own apartment buildings than it was a year or 5 years ago. But there's always going to be stuff to navigate. There's going to be ways to kind of get around and deal with things, or I should say not get around, but manage things. So I feel like, yeah, it scares me. The Prop 13 elimination is the biggest thing that freaks me out, because if assessments go up, then that's going to really mess things up for landlords, and for a lot of it really comes down. A lot of it in the beginning, they're talking about commercial and industrial, and most of those tenants are on triple net leases, so the increased tax burden would go to the business owner, and it would be an absolute disaster. That scares me for sure. The other stuff regarding vacancy control is not good, but I don't loom it. I don't sit in it. I don't sit in the negativity. I think about progress, and I'm optimistic, and I'm hopefully that's not an ignorant situation. But I'm really trying to look at the glass half full and focus on why San Diego Apartments is still a great place to be and put your money. Hopefully that answers the question. What happens when Prop 13 gets taken away for apartment houses and taxes go way up? Just talked about it. It would be a full game changer if that actually does affect apartment buildings in the future, and a tax burden now goes from $5,000 to $50,000. That would be really, really big, and I don't even know. I hope that doesn't happen. I think that's the only thing I can respond to that. That would be no bueno. Would you consider selling California real estate and going into different states without as much regulation? No, because it's just in my blood to stay close to home. Even with problems, I think I just feel really comfortable with the appreciation of San Diego or California real estate, and the fact that there's such a demand for it. I believe in why people live in San Diego, which is the lifestyle and the beach and the Balboa Park and Mexico and the mountains, etc. So I don't like chasing other areas, and I don't want to be in 110-degree weather or deal with snow removal or things I don't understand. I think the caveat there, the carve out maybe for me is if I had a close friend or a family member in a different market, and there was a deal that really made cash flow sense and they were managing it, intimately involved, and I trusted them, then I'd probably make an exception and flirt with going into a different area. But most of my crew and family is here in town. Why are so many Americans spending so much money right now? It's a good one. I was talking to a big client yesterday. He said people are spending money like Rome is burning, and I totally agree with them. I don't know what it is. It's the boats and the planes, and private jet sales are up. Big yacht sales are up. Big screen television sales are up 60%. I heard that the other day. It's really crazy. I think people are bored, and psychologically they're shifting their priorities, and they're learning that life is short. If they get COVID and they die from it, they want to enjoy their life. I was just at Jake's Motor Cars. Shout out to them. They're in Sereno Valley, and they sell exotics, used exotics, and really, really cool automobile stuff. And they've been absolutely like gangbusters busy selling a lot of Rolls Royces and Range Rovers and stuff. And it's almost like people are just enjoying life. And up into this COVID thing, which is this medical issue, we were in a bull market for almost a decade. So people have a lot of money, and the sophisticated, smart people have saved money. They invest it, they save, and they're spending it because they're enjoying life, and they're probably a little bit more alone with their thoughts and not engaged with their typical day-to-day stuff. And they're probably thinking, you know what? I'm gonna go spend this money and have fun and enjoy life. That's the only thing that comes to mind for me. It's the people that don't have the savings or the higher paying jobs or the stability. Those are the people that are gonna get in trouble. That are buying the boats and the jet skis, because at some point, that will come and backfire on people. Personally, what is your favorite type of unit? Studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, etc. It's a good question. 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 2 bedroom, 1.5 bath. I want to stick to that because I love the fallback option of having something that works for 2 people, meaning 2 roommates. And 2 roommates typically want their own toilet and shower and sink. And if it's a 2 bedroom, 1.5 bath, at least one of the tenants gets a sink and a toilet, and maybe they share the shower or something. But I feel like if there's a recessionary market and 2 people can team up and split a rent, that's huge. Or if things go really expensive and you have 2 people that can split the rent, I really believe in the having the ability to have 2 roommates share a unit, and you want that extra half bath or full bath will make that easier, more desirable from a privacy standpoint, etc. What do you know? When do you know when to sell a property? I believe in buying and holding. I really believe in 1031 exchange as well. When you buy a property and you've refinanced it and you've added as much value as you can, and you're making 3%, 4%, 5% on your money, and there's just not a whole lot of upside, you've kind of squeezed that lemon, that's when I would sell and go into a deal where you can add your skill set and your sophistication to do it on a bigger scale. I've also sold a couple of properties, or I've advised clients to sell when a property just doesn't work. So the management's a pain in the butt, the utilities are really high, and we can't figure out why. And if it looks like the neighborhood is kind of not moving in the right direction, there's not new business coming in, or just kind of a pain in the butt property, I think that's a good time to sell as well. But I always advise clients to purchase real estate without a game plan to sell. Hold this building like you're going to hold it for 3, 5, 7 years, and then look at taking the equity and moving it into a bigger property to scale up. So hopefully that answers it. I hear a lot about ADUs these days. What are your thoughts on those? Accessory dwelling unit, the city's becoming more open to adding units. Any property you have extra space in, or you have garages in the back on the alley with nothing above the garages, go to the city or hire a consultant, because you can probably add, don't quote me on this, but there's a good chance you can add a unit or maybe even 2, and you can get that built, pretty easy with the permits and everything. And if you look at your return on the money invested, I've helped a couple of clients look at this, it's like 15 to 25% return on your money. You're going to go build a unit and then you're going to rent it out for X amount per year. It's, I think, a no-brainer. And if you already have the land or the structure to build something on top of it, or I'm hearing a lot about converting existing, like a laundry room or a garage, to a unit with the approval and the permits with the city. So San Diego County and a lot of the different municipalities are being a lot more flexible to that. Think about the properties you own. If there's an angle where you can add something to it on a property that's not already completely built out. Do you remodel your properties when buying them, or advise on doing that, or advise on not doing that? Remodeling or not remodeling? I want capital to go buy as many doors as possible, so I'm not going to overspend, because I don't need to create a cap rate. If I'm going to sell it, which I'm not, so if you're going to flip the building, then you want to go remodel the asset, max the rent out to the sky, because the cap rate attached to that's going to give you a big resale number. In my eyes, and what I advise clients is buy and hold. So I don't do crazy remodels. I don't spend all this tons of money doing it. Purchase a building, paint, landscaping, clean it up. I have a golden rule with my team here to create a better experience to the resident than when I purchase a building than prior. So make it even a better, more responsive, better communication, make the building look better. I raise rents, absolutely, but I'm not going to the sky. I'm kind of staying a hair below market, and that tends to last. Just better tenant retention. The number one expense in any business, including apartment buildings or running a business with employees, is turnover. So I don't do crazy interior remodels, period, because I don't need to get that maxed out high level rent unless you're gonna turn it and flip it real quick and manipulate the cap rate. So that's it, and tune in next week for the official champagne cracking episode as well for 52. And until then, bye-bye.